Hi, everybody. This is going to be a little video to help you with your homework tonight, review 2 in the textbook. We're going to start off with, I think for the most part, everybody can do 1 through 5. So we're going to start off with number 6, and I'm going to do some examples that are similar to the problems of number 6, but not exactly the same. Okay, so let's say what makes number 6 difficult is we're taking fractions that look like this: a over 2 minus a over 5. All right, now in this example, what makes this difficult is the fact that we've got a variable in our fraction. But don't let that bother you. Just follow the steps that you would normally do for subtracting fractions. Now, if we're subtracting fractions, we need to have a common denominator. So we don't have any variables in our denominator. I can tell you what that denominator is going to be. It's going to be 10. 10 is the LCM of 2 and 5. Well, if I multiply 2 by 5, I get 10. That means I must multiply the numerator, a, by 5, which will give me 5a. Do the same thing over here. Put my 10 on the bottom. 5 times 2 is 10, so I have to multiply the numerator here by, and I'll go ahead and write the step I usually do in class. That means that I multiplied this fraction on the left by 5 over 5. And on the right, I'm going to multiply by 2 over 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. A times 2 is 2a. And now the next step would be to subtract our numerator. So we're going to have 5a minus 2a all over that common denominator of 10. 5 of something minus 2 of something, as long as they're all the same size, is going to be 3a. I know that might seem a little bit weird, but it's like saying if I have 5 bags of equal size and I take 2 of those bags away, well, I would have 3 bags left. I might not know what's in the bag. That's why we still have the variable, because it's 3 times a number we don't know. But I do know that I have 3 of those bags left over. Okay, so that's the first example for number 6. That would be 6a. I'm just going to delete this and keep working. You can rewind and look at that again if you need to. All right, in our second example, I probably don't need to do this, but I'll do it anyway. We have an addition problem, so this would be 6b, and it's b over 4 plus b over 6. Well, this is exactly like what we just did, okay? Don't let the variable deter you from working through this problem systematically. Just work from step 1. We'll just start with step 1. So we're adding fractions, we need a common denominator, which is going to be the LCM of 4 and 6, which is 12. So down here, I'm going to put my 12 and my 12 and my plus sign. And now I'm going to think to myself, well, what did I multiply 4 by to get 12? That was 3. So I need to multiply the top by 3 as well. 3 times b is 3b. Over here, what did I multiply the 6 by? I multiplied the 6 by a 2 to get 12. So I need to multiply the b by a 2. And I get, I'm jumping ahead. Multiply the b by a 2, which gives me 2b. And finally, we add our numerators. I'm going to skip that step that I did before because I already did it once. 3b plus 2b is 5b. And there we go. That's how we add fractions that have variables in the numerator. Okay, moving on. The next one, number 7, has you solving single step equations. So again, I changed the numbers up a bit. Now, you might see something like this. 5x equals 13. Now, obviously, 13 is not divisible by 5, so we know this isn't going to be a whole number. But what we're doing here is we're looking for a solution. And a solution is a number that I can plug in for x. Or basically, I want to know what this unknown number is. Keep it simple. I want to know what x is. What number do I need to multiply by 5 to equal 13? Okay, and I hope you don't say, well, there is no number. There is, it's just not a whole number. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to work in reverse. If 5 times a number equals 13, then 13 divided by 5 equals that number. Okay, we just worked in reverse. It's like saying, well, what number times 4 equals 20? What number do I need to multiply 4 by to equal 20? Well, let's take 20 and divide by 4 to find out what that number is. And it would be 5, and we know that's true. 4 times 5 is 20. So it's the same process here. We're just kind of doing the reverse of what's going on in the first equation. If x is being multiplied by 5 and it equals 13, then I need to divide 13 by 5 to find x. This is an acceptable answer, okay? There's nothing improper with improper fractions in my class. This is totally fine. If you wanted to, you could write it as a mixed number. I prefer you didn't. Get used to not, maybe you can think of it as a mixed number. That's fine. 2 3/5. Or you could write it as a decimal, which would be 2.6. All of those are acceptable answers. Okay, all three of these. We'll do another problem. The second problem looks something like this. 1/13 of x is equal to 5. Now, again, this looks a little bit different. It's got a fraction in front, but the operation is the same thing. So before we were multiplying x by 5 and it was equal to 13. Well, here we're multiplying x times the fraction 1/13. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did last time. If multiplying x by 1/13 gives me 5, I'm going to divide 5 by this number here that I'm multiplying by. So I'm going to take 5. I'm going to divide it by 1/13, and this will give me the value of x. Okay, well, we are dividing fractions. So we're going to, first of all, we need to write everything as a fraction. This is 5/1. We're going to keep this, change this, and flip this. And then change this problem to a multiplication problem. Ooh, I hope this is a multiplication sign. Why don't I erase that and put a dot there so it's not confusing. This, by the way, is why we use dots instead of the cross for multiplication, so we don't get them confused with variables. 5 times 13 is 65, and sure enough, that is what x equals. And you could see if I come over here and I plug this back into the original problem, 1/13 times, and I'm going to substitute 65 for x. Well, you can see that this is true. This is going to cross cancel, and we're left with 5. Okay, so this is our solution here. Same thing we did in the last problem. We just had to do this extra step of dividing by a fraction. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to do 2 more. We have, this is number 8. So it tells us that the volume of a pyramid is equal to 1/3 A, B, H. And then it tells us what A, B, and H are. So we've done this before. What we're going to do to evaluate the volume of this pyramid is we're just substituting. So in my problem, I'm not going to do the same problem. A is equal to 5. B is equal to 32. And these would have units, so this could be 5 feet and 32/6 feet. And C is going to be 3/8 of a foot. Now I'm going to leave the units off because when I substitute them into this formula, I'm not going to include the units. But we will check at the end of the problem for understanding what the units should be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this expression here, V equals 1/3. The 1/3 stays 1/3 because it's a constant. A, I know what A is now, so I'm going to take this letter A out, put in parentheses, and replace that with the value 5. Okay, I'm substituting 5 for A. And we're going to do the same thing for B, but B is 32/6. And H, oh, why did I put C over here? Let's not do that. H is equal to 3/8. eighths. Oh, okay. So we've got a lot of multiplication going on here. We've got 1/3 times 5 times 32 over 6 times 3/8. All right, well, let's just work it down step by step. We'll start with 1/3 times 5, which is going to be 5 over 1. Actually, I'm going to take this. I guess I could do it right here. That's fine. No, if I put equal signs, I want to have this over here. So 1/3 times 5 over 1 is 5/3. Okay. So our problem becomes these two. 1/3 times 5 became 5/3. And now we're going to multiply 5/3 times 32 over 6. Okay, these two became 5/3, and now we're going to multiply that by 32 over 6. Does anything cancel? No, unfortunately it doesn't. I didn't think this out well enough, but that's fine. We can still work the problem. This becomes 5 times 32 is 160. 3 times... Wait, something... Oh, the 32 over 6 is not simplified. That's why we're getting a non-simplified fraction. That's fine. I'm just going to work this out. And 3 times 8 is 18. Now, this does simplify. It's divisible by 2, but that's fine. We're just going to keep going. So 5 over 3 times 32 over 6 is equal to 160 over 18. And the last thing we need to do is we need to bring down this 3/8. And I need to multiply this by 3/8. Well, I'm kind of happy. Hallelujah, because a lot of things are going to cross cancel and make my life much easier. So here you go, 160 over 18 times 3/8. Well, 160 and 8 are both divisible by 8, so I'm going to divide by 8. That's 1 here. 160 divided by 8 is 20. And 3 and 18 are both divisible by 3, so I'll cross this out. Divide by 3, I get 1 and 6. And that is close to my final answer. But this can be simplified into 10 over 3. And this would be our final answer. The volume of this pyramid would be 10 over 3. What unit? Well, a foot times a foot times a foot would be a cubic foot. And this would be 10/3 of a cubic foot. And this is one of those cases where a mixed number is actually, it makes a lot of sense. This would be 3 1/3 cubic feet. Okay, cubic feet. Remember, we always measure volume in cubic units. Volume is how much something, how much space, three-dimensional space. So how much you could fill this pyramid with. Okay, the last one we're going to do. Taking longer on this than I anticipated. You can still click through though. Like once you understand a problem, just skip, go to the next, whatever you need to do. Rewind for the ones that you have trouble with. The last problem we have looks like this. D equals m over v. And this actually is the formula for density. Density is equal to mass over volume. They don't tell you that's what it is, but they do tell you that m is equal to 8 and v is equal to 2/3. Oh, actually, these are numbers I'm making up. Your problem is different. Of course, I want you to work this out yourself. Now, we're going to do exactly what we did in the problem before. We're just substituting. So in this problem, D is going to be equal to not m, but 8. And V is going to be, I'm going to replace that with 2/3. If you see this and you freak out, don't. This is just division. So think of this as being 8 divided by 2/3. Remember, you can always write division as a fraction, where the top number is the thing that we're going to divide, and the bottom number is the thing we're dividing by. All right, now that's important for setting up the problem. So this is going to be 8 divided by 2/3. First step in dividing fractions is all numbers have to be written as a fraction. So this 8 becomes 8 over 1. We're going to keep, change, flip, and then we're going to solve this multiplication problem, and that'll be our answer. So I can cross cancel here. 8 and 2 share a common factor of 2. We divide by that. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And now we can continue and multiply through. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1. So my denominator is going to be 1. This is a fancy way of writing 12. 12 over 1 is 12 divided by 1. It is 12. So that would be my answer there. Okay, that's it for tonight. I think everything else you are more than capable of figuring out on your own. But if you need some help with these, I hope you have a look. All right, thanks. Bye.